And gentlemen, and welcome to the show. Glad to have you guys here on this Monday, May 1st, 2023. Thank you for tuning in. See this map right here? You see all the yellow? The yellow countries are basically the NATO countries or allied forces. This is the forces of the West. You see all the gray areas and all the blue areas and all the red areas, which represents an awful lot of the world. Look, most of Africa, most of Southeast Asia and Asia, and including China and all of Russia and parts of South America and parts of Central America. Probably the closest to America is Cuba. These countries represent countries that are forming into the other bloc, and they're growing. These are the BRICS, the power of the BRICS, and sides are being drawn right now in the world. These are sides that are being drawn, and the areas shaded in gray and in red and not the areas that are not yellow represent an immense amount of the world's population and trade. This is what we got going on. And what do these nations want? Well, they're tired of being pushed around by dollars. De-dollarization is ongoing right now. It says the dollar's dominated world trade and served as a global reserve currency since the end of the Second World War. The global order more uncertain today than almost any time since. The talk of de-dollarization is returning. Central banks from China, India, and Brazil, among others, are buying gold to replace the dollar in the reserves at the fastest pace on post-war record. It says this reaction is rational. And they go on to talk about that the United States was able to freeze Russia's $300 billion in reserves because they were held in dollars. So we set up a situation in the world. Changing the subject here a little bit. What we see is we see J.P. Morgan Bank just bought out a rather large institution. This has happened. Just happened. This is new stuff. Another California bank failure. You know? But what got me about this is I guess the regulators just said, okay, that bank's done, and now we're going to give it to J.P. Morgan. I wonder what they sold it to him for. How much money? I'm curious about this. Please don't tell me it was $1. You know, I mean, just saying. I haven't heard the price that they charged for it yet. First Republic found itself in a similar situation to Silicon Valley Bank, which was shut down by regulators in March. Its failure to manage interest rate mismatch on its balance sheet ultimately crippled it as deposits flew out the door in response to earlier bank failures. Its vulnerability was amplified by the Federal Reserve's initial mechanization of inflation as transitory, the failure to take timely measures, and in the inevitable highly concentration of set hikes that followed. So there you go. It just, I guess First Republic has just folded into J.P. Morgan Bank. Now, here's the thing I want to talk about right here. See this man right here? Did he say this? Because this is quote unquote, it's in parentheses. Quote unquote, it says, in a lot of ways, this dinner sums up my first 2 years in office. I'll talk for 10 minutes, take 0 questions, and cheerfully walk away. Anyway, moving on. Bipartisan bill aims to prevent AI from launching nuclear weapons. So they're going to somehow stop the AI from launching the nuclear weapons. Now, this just seems to me, if you put an AI in charge of nuclear weapons to launch them, if, I'm just talking futuristic sort of thing, science fiction sort of thing, what would prevent the AI? I mean, it's got a mind of its own. It's not like a regular computer. When you tell a regular computer to do something, it does it. It obeys orders. But now AI is totally different. It's got a mind of its own. Are they planning? Is this why they're talking this way? Are they planning on putting artificial intelligence in charge of the nuclear weapons? Because it says here that they're going to introduce legislation meant to prevent artificial intelligence from launching nuclear weapons. Well, it just seems to me that the best way to prevent artificial intelligence from launching nuclear weapons is not to put artificial intelligence in charge of the nuclear weapons. But the only reason why you'd have to introduce this legislation is if they're planning on putting AI in charge of the nuclear weapons. Are they? I'm just asking a question here. I mean, this is the first thing that comes to mind to me when I read this. Is why would they need legislation to prevent artificial intelligence from launching nuclear weapons unless they put the nuclear weapons in control of the AI to begin with? I don't know. I'm just saying. Silver this morning, guys. It just went boom. I first come in here and I come on here and I said, that's going straight up like a rocket to the moon. But then, you know, it made this little turnaround now and it's descending again, you know, a little bit. But still, it's quite a nice little bounce. 62-cent bounce as of right now. 25.66 right now. You can see that nice little bounce. Let's take a look at gold today. Gold's had the nice little bounce too, and it's still up $7.20 at $1997.80. Taking a look at cryptocurrencies today, we're looking at 1181 billions. That's 1,181 billion for the entire industry. That's Bitcoin and all of them. Bitcoin price at 28,468 and an Ethereum price of 1848 today. That's what we're seeing in the cryptos. Now if we move over to the Dow today, and the Dow looks like it's down 16 points. I'm refreshing the page. Indestructible Dow. That's what it's been for. It's really telling you guys, but don't think that it's indestructible completely. It just takes the right triggers, because it's almost like she's sitting up here and she's made like little patterns. I don't follow the patterns. I don't put a lot of faith in market patterns. I put more faith in the macro picture of what's going on and how different things are going to inflect on the market. Different things like raising interest rates and things like that. The effect it's going to have. That's a 6-month option out. When you raise interest rates, there's a 6-month lag on that. That's how long the lag is. And so we're not feeling the full effects of it yet, of these very rapid raises in rates. So the Dow's up 75 points on the day right there. Looking at crude oil today. Now crude oil is signaling, big flashing red lights here on crude oil. It's signaling a recession because it's been down. It was up over $80. Now it's $75. It's down $1.44 today alone. So not just crude oil is signaling a recession, but this bond market is signaling a recession too. Not only is there a very, very powerful inversion, when you see the 4-month exceeding the value of a 30-year by, I mean, over a full point. I mean, 3.7 on 30 years and 5.2 on 4 months. When you see that kind of an inversion, it's just screaming that there's something bad this way comes. Taking a look at the volatility, market volatility index. This is an index called the MOVE index, and it's very important. It's one of the ones I keep my eye on. we see that large spike upwards, but now it's progressively we've passed that, and volatility has settled back down again. When you see this thing spike up, there's trouble. And so we did run into trouble because this thing went up to almost 200. Or did it exceed 200? It went up to 198.71 on the 15th of March. And so there was trouble. Because this is volatility in your credit markets. Keep a close eye on that MOVE index. Okay, now taking a look at the US dollar index. To me, the MOVE index is more important than the dollar index. And one of the reasons why I don't consider this a really important index, the dollar, and I know I always finish off with it, but I don't really consider it all that of an important index, is because the basket of currencies the dollar's being compared against that makes up this dollar index are all very poor currencies, in my estimation. Okay, guys, thank you for listening to the show this morning. Do I have anything else on here I wanted to talk about? Anyway, I'll finish off with this map here. And this shows the sides being divided. And I mean, it could be World War III. It could be anything in between. But the gray sides over here in Russia, the red side and the gray sides that are on the other side, they don't want the dollar anymore. And they're basically screaming it out loud that we don't want dollar-dominated world anymore. We want to have a gold-backed currencies, and we want the world to be run differently than it has been run. And they're growing. They're a growing force. Meanwhile, over here in the West, we've got a corrupted monetary system that can't be fixed. It's like something that breaks on your car and you can't fix it. Maybe you're out on a vacation someplace and your computer goes in your car. The whole computer system just stops functioning. The car won't start. Even the radio won't turn on. That's a problem that you can't fix yourself. Unless you're a real computer expert or something like that. And unless you have the technical means to fix the computer. Well, that's the way with the dollar system. Everything you see in yellow here is a dollar system. And it's corrupted by a Ponzi scheme. Because at the very core of this corruption is when they create the money itself. So they loan it into existence, the money. What we call money, the dollar, the Federal Reserve notes. They loan them into existence and they create the amount of the loan. Like, picture in your mind, the loan is $1,000. We're just making it that. That's not real, but we're just going to say $1,000 loan. They create the $1,000 in fiat currency. But the very first year, it's going to have interest on it that's owed. They didn't create that interest. And the interest accrues. And that's where the Ponzi scheme part comes in, is because they have to keep creating more and more and more of these monetary units to cover the interest on previous loans. That they didn't create the interest. And they still don't create the interest. And the interest accrues over the years so that more is owed back than the money in existence. And right now it's to this point where the United States owes over $200 trillion in unfunded liabilities. This is things that are owed by the United States government. Over $200 trillion. Their national debt is over $31 trillion. Okay? And there's only $2 trillion of monetary units in existence. So now, when you figure in the national debt plus the unfunded liabilities is well in excess of $200 trillion. So all you guys got to remember, just pretend it's dollars. Pretend a trillion is $1. Okay? So they owe over $200. They owe $200 trillion. They owe over that. And all they've got in their pocket is $2. How are you going to pay a $200 light bill if all you got in your pocket is $2? This is the state of affairs in the West. They've got $2 trillion roughly in cash out there to go against over $200 trillion being owed. So you ain't going to pay it off. And if you try to pay it off, what's going to happen? Well, you ain't going to have that $2 in your pocket anymore. They're keeping the system running. That's the money that when you go to the grocery store and you give them the bucks to pay for your groceries, that's part of that $2 trillion. So if you took all that $2 trillion, lumped it together and say, okay, we're going to pay off the national debt. Here you go. They'd say, well, this isn't even a down payment. You just started. But now you haven't got the $2 anymore, or you haven't got the $2 trillion in the system that keeps the system running anymore. So you can't do it. It just can't be done. You can't pay it off. And it's ever growing because there's more interest accruing all the time. This is why they want to go negative interest rate policy, because then they won't accrue the interest on the national debt any longer. But instead, what they said, well, we're going to fight inflation. We're going to raise it. Raise the interest rates even higher so we'll even have to pay more on the national debt. Are they insane? Yeah, I think they are a little bit insane, but I think they got... This insanity is leading to sanity because they got a long-term plan of problem, reaction, solution, and hurting us. They're hurting us with this fake currency of theirs into where? Well, I don't exactly know yet. All I know is this is a terrible mess and it can't be fixed. So we get the BRICS nations and they say, okay, we're going to fix it. We're just all going to go back to gold in a gold-backed currency. And what are you going to do? 99 boo-boo. Because you sent us all your gold, you reapothecated it and sent it all from west to east. And we're sitting on mountains of the stuff. So they're going to use that as a tool. A pry bar. To pry bar open our system and spill out all the worms. And believe me, our system is just a suitcase full of bugs and worms. That's all it is. Once you crack it open, there's nothing good there, except a bunch of politicians on the take. You know what I mean by on the take? It means that they can easily they're corrupted from the get-go. Anyway, thank you guys for listening to my show. I appreciate my audience out there. You guys are really great. Watch, and I'm going to try to keep you guys informed on the latest information as it becomes available in the world. Keeping my eye on the news 24/7. Because I think something really big's coming real soon, guys. We're in this little thing. You ever heard of the saying, the calm before the storm? Thank you guys for listening. We'll catch you guys in the next show. Bye-bye.